Senator Russell and friends of Senator Russell, and that's everybody in this room, I want all of you to know how very proud I am to join in this party honoring Senator Russell. And I just envy you the opportunity that you will have to see at least a cut-down version of this historic documentary that has been made by the Cox Broadcasting Company covering some years of his life. I understood that 25 hours actually were recorded, and even 25 hours of the very best television crew in the world couldn't adequately tell the story of Dick Russell. All of you know that story well, but because a few who are here may not know some of the background, let me refresh your memories. He was Speaker of his state legislature, the youngest speaker in history. He was governor of his state at 33 years of age, the youngest governor in history. He has been 7 times elected to the United States Senate, and only 3 men in the whole 190-year history of the United States have ever been elected to the Senate 7 times. Dick Russell is one of them. And as we stand here today, only Senator Carl Hayden of Arizona has served longer in the Senate than has Senator Russell of Georgia. I've been trying to think, too, of something to say about him that his record in terms of his political service does not say. And I'd like to share with you a sentiment that I have, a sentiment that all of you who were privileged to be with us Sunday at the worship service where Dr. Russell, his brother, spoke, I'm sure will agree with. We know Senator Russell as one of the Senate's great parliamentarians. We know him as one of the great leaders of this country. But the real measure of the man is what not only those who work for him, but those in his family think of him. He has a big family, and a lot of them were there on Sunday. And what impressed me was that as his brothers and his sisters, his nephews and his nieces and grandnephews and grandnieces came through the line, the real affection and love that you saw in their eyes for Senator Russell. That's the mark of a fine man, and that's why you're here, because he is more than just a senator and a public servant. He is one who commands our affection and our respect and our love because he's a fine human being. And I finally would like to just add a couple of other points that I think would be of interest to you. The senator has been quoted as having said on one occasion that he considered it his responsibility to represent the interests of Georgia in Washington rather than to represent the interests of Washington in Georgia. I would go further. I think the senator represents the interests of the United States to the whole world. And as we look back over this great career of his, I'm sure that we realize that we've been fortunate to have a man of his integrity, of his very great ability, and of these human characteristics to which I have referred, to walk with him, to know him as the giant that he is in the American political scene. And I would simply say that to be here, not simply as President of the United States, but as one who served in the Senate as a very junior senator with Senator Russell, one who presided over the Senate for 8 years and learned and saw at firsthand this magnificent ability he had for leadership. I am proud to stand with him, and I only hope that whenever he goes back to Georgia, that the fact that a Republican president said all these nice things about him won't hurt him among his Democratic friends.
Mr. President, your presence here would have been the capstone of the evening, but your kind and gracious words completely overwhelmed me. I'm grateful to you indeed, and I am glad to such a lavish tribute. I can say that I only wish that I could deserve it all, But it is good to have it coming from the President of the United States. I believe it was Horace who said that it is sweet to be praised by those who are themselves praised. And the record that President Nixon has made in the relative short time that he has served as president has been tremendously reassuring to the people of these United States. They have confidence in his intentions and in his ability. And each day as his program unfolds, they see that it is in the national interest. There's little more that I can say. No one has yet invented or devised a superlative for thank you, so I'll have to content myself by saying thank you, Mr. President, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Now, I didn't intend to have an added starter, but if you will pardon me, Senator, if I could just add one little anecdote that we were talking about in the room before we were waiting to be announced. As we came out here, and the Ruffles and Flourishes came on, and they said, the President of the United States, I nudged the age, and I said, they're supposed to say the President of the United States and Senator Russell. You will also note that the Senator was walking on my right. He didn't want to do that. He says, I should be on the left. And I said, look, if a prime minister or a king or an emperor can be on my right, the senator from Georgia, Senator Russell, is going to be on my right. But the other point was this. I reminded him of the fact that President Harry Truman said back in 1952 that if Senator Russell of Georgia had been born in Indiana or Ohio or some other northern or midwestern state, he probably would have been elected President of the United States. And I reminded the Senator that very early in 1952, before I knew I was going to be Vice President, I said the same thing. So Harry Truman and I did agree on something.
There's still no superlative for thank you, but I say again from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you.